Hello, this is Jim Feist in Las Vegas, along with Hank Goldberg in southern Florida. Hank, you had a good weekend. You did good in the football and the Breeders' Cup. I know you got a slow start in the Breeders' Cup, but you really came on strong in those last three races.
Yeah, I got a nice $78 exacta in the Turf Classic, but the early races were tough. I think I got involved with too many races, 12 race card, and there were a lot of long shots that came in. But, you know, they were big full fields, and I've done better in past Breeders' Cups, but I caught up a little bit in the last three races. So Gun Runner, some people doubted whether he could make the mile and a quarter. He proved the doubters all wrong. He really ran a heck of a race, and we'll see where he goes from here. But I was right about one thing. I didn't think Arrogant would do very well.
Yeah, you talked about that a couple of weeks ago. Anything in college football that you noticed and want to talk about? Anything jump out at you?
Well, I think the Big Ten's in big trouble.
Yeah.
But the game of the week this week is going to be right here in South Florida with when Notre Dame comes in to play Miami. That's an old rivalry from years back. But Notre Dame's loaded. You know, Miami, we'll see. You know, it's a little step up for Miami. But they've got the home field. That field is awful, by the way. I was at the game last night where the Raiders played Miami, and I think the field made more tackles than either of the two sides. It's all torn up. But there'll be a big crowd there Saturday night, and it should be a lot of fun.
Yes, it will. Pro football was, you know, what can you say? I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles, of course, they played Denver, and Denver's a mess this year, but Philadelphia Eagles have looked good all year long, no matter who they play. Carson Wentz, he's good enough to play anywhere, but not for the Cleveland Browns, of course. He's really looking like a premier quarterback. He can do it all. He's physically able to do everything, and he's a strong arm and good leader. I'm very impressed. I think everybody is. And then the Rams.
Well, his quarterback class is going to turn out to be pretty good because Goff is playing very well for the Rams, and you know, of course, you know, Prescott is playing great for Dallas right now. So you know, you got three real good ones. It's you know, Dallas is not out of it. You know, Philadelphia had a soft opponent in Denver. Denver can't score touchdowns right now, and what's happened is their offense has been so bad that it's letting what's a very good defense down. That defense is getting worn out with Denver's 3 and outs on offense, and you know, Elway's got to take a good look at that quarterback situation because they don't have one right now, and you know, that never was more obvious than yesterday when, you know, you're looking at, you know, a team racking up over 50 points against that Denver defense. So that's shocking to me. But I think it's just a matter of Denver's defense just getting so fed up with coming back on the field so frequently. You know, it just got to them.
Well, yeah, eventually, if your offense doesn't do its share, the defense is going to wear down. There's no question about that. You know, Philadelphia, on the other side of it, when you look at what they've done all year long, they've done pretty well. I mean, they lost one game, and that was to Kansas City, and that was it. Everything else, they've beaten the Giants, the Chargers, Arizona, Carolina, Washington twice, San Francisco, and Denver. I mean, there aren't that many premium teams in the NFL. It's really a B league this year. Yeah, Pittsburgh and New England didn't play this week, but um, Philadelphia right now is standing out. I mean, Denver. You mentioned Dallas with Prescott and Elliott on the field. They are a very good football team. And no, I don't think they're going to catch the Eagles to win that division, but I think they have a real good chance to get a wild card, and they'll be dangerous in a wild card situation. Obviously, everything we say is to do with injuries. Last week we lost a player in practice that was really a blow to the league. Deshaun Watson went down in practice last week, and he was playing exceptionally well. And now he's gone for the season. That's another big loss for the NFL.
Well, it's a big loss to Houston. That team is lost without him. And, I mean, a very poor defense went in there and held them to 7 points yesterday. I mean, that Indianapolis defense is as bad as it gets. And that quarterback for Houston is horrible. And so Houston's really stuck right now. And that was a team that was on its way to the playoffs, and now it's on its way to next year. They're going nowhere. And, they've got key injuries on the defensive side of the ball, too, at defensive end and the linebacker. So this is going to be a tough situation for Houston.
We've had a lot of big name players go down this year. One of them is Aaron Rodgers, and what remains of that team goes on the field tonight against Detroit. Of course, Detroit they've had really bad time winning in Green Bay. That's an interesting cold weather team. Green Bay's a cold weather city. You got the Lions coming in there. They got a high-priced quarterback who's very good, but a lot of the team they've got deficiencies as well. Got a lot of injuries in the NFL, and it's really hurting the quality and the production of the league. I'm not sure what they do about it, but talking about a couple teams that are playing very well, the Jacksonville Jaguars have really stepped up their game.
Well, I watched that game yesterday, and the Jaguars, it's interesting, Fournette was suspended basically yesterday. He missed some meetings, and they got a good, Ivory's a very good back behind him, but Cincinnati's a mess. They went in there and they couldn't get anything done, and the Jacksonville defense really shut them down. And the Jacksonville defense right now, they had 34 sacks going into that game. They're on their way to a league record number of sacks on defense. They're coaching. They've got a good coach. But what's interesting about that? As big a game as that was for Jacksonville, and as big an opportunity as it was for them with the Houston situation, and an opportunity for them to, make hay in that division, they still disciplined Fournette, who was, a tremendous asset to them offensively. And there's the long arm of Tom Coughlin again. And, you think back to Coughlin, who, remember, he suspended his top receiver when he was with the Giants a couple of years ago. And Coughlin, he doesn't mess around. I mean, if the guy is not disciplined, he will instill discipline, and it doesn't matter who that player is. And that was not a decision that was made by the coach. That was definitely a Coughlin decision, who is, running the front office there. And so we'll see if what Fournette gets out of it. But Jacksonville has a very soft schedule the rest of the way. If you look at it, they're in a pretty good position, and they're going to be a tough team to beat. And the other team in there, of course, is Tennessee. Now, I watched Tennessee yesterday, and I thought that, they were playing Baltimore, and Baltimore comes in there with Flacco, who's, really playing terrible. And, Baltimore was really overmatched. Mariota has got his mobility back, and they could run out on him. Baltimore was giving up 134 yards per game in run defense, and I think Harbaugh's in trouble there, but that's another story. But are you still there?
Yeah, yes, I am.
Okay, anyway, but this Tennessee team can't put teams away. And they wound up winning the game by 3 points. They gave up a cheap touchdown at the end of the game because they go into a soft defense in the fourth quarter. And that's an ongoing situation with Tennessee. And they really outplayed Baltimore. They were ahead by 10 points and gave up, that backdoor cover at the end. And they lose games in the fourth quarter because once they get a lead, they go into that prevent. That's a consistent situation with them, and they take their foot off the gas offensively too. So this is a big opportunity for Jacksonville.
That's a great point. It's kind of like you play not to lose. You instead of putting the team away, you back off. I mean, going into that game, they were allowing 25 points per game, which is a lot for a team that you think might have a chance to win a division. Now, you look at Jacksonville going into their game against Cincinnati yesterday, they were allowing 16 points a game. That's a huge difference. And when you're talking about two teams that are vying for a division title, that's a big edge to Jacksonville. And when you have Coughlin willing to put his foot down on a player's neck and say, hey, you're going to follow the rules or you're not going to play, that's a big plus. That's old school. That's old school management. That's, and I think it really shows up, and that's going to work well for Jacksonville in the long run.
Well, we'll see. The only question with Jacksonville is, Something Bortles has played a great game yesterday. He converted third downs at a high rate yesterday against Cincinnati by throwing passes he could complete. And they're doing a good job with Bortles. He really has improved. He's not making wild throws. He's really playing carefully, and that helps him too. The Bortles had a very good game yesterday.
It's really beginning to look like the addition of Tom Coughlin to that team is starting to show benefit. No question.
Yeah, well, it's the culture has changed there, and that's the difference. And you look at Atlanta and what's going on there, and Matt Ryan yesterday had a great fourth quarter. They should have won that game. He's got his top receiver wide open, and I don't know what it is with him this year, but he throws him the pass, nobody within 20 yards of him, and he drops it in the end zone, cost Atlanta a win against Carolina.
Yeah, it did. We've hashed this out before. I mean, going back to that Super Bowl, the 28-3 lead, I don't know that it's really easy psychologically to bounce back from that. And if you looked at their game so far this year, they have blown quite a few leads in the second half and the fourth quarter, which is exactly what they did in the Super Bowl. It seems like that's like a curse for them right now, and they can't get out of their own way with that. They're definitely not. They're not the same team as they were a year ago.
Well, they didn't have the lead in this game. They were coming from off the pace, and Ryan started to complete a lot of passes. Their play selection is dreadful, but in the fourth quarter, Carolina went into a prevent, and they moved the ball down the field and scored easily on them. And then Carolina went into a conservative offense, went 3 and out on 3 straight possessions, and Atlanta held them on all 3 and got the ball back. And with about 2.5 minutes to go, they moved the ball downfield, and Matty Ice, he throws a bomb. I mean, it was about a 40-yard completion. If his wide receiver holds onto the ball, nobody around him, just drops it. There was no excuse for it, and it would have given him the win.
Well, 100% right, Hank. Let's look at one other stat in the game that's. I mean, there's a couple stats here that we should talk about. I thought Atlanta had a pretty good running game, but yesterday they ran the ball for 53 yards yesterday, where Carolina had 201 yards, and passing they threw it for 302, and Carolina 129. This play calling. I mean, they should be able to run the ball a lot better with those backs than that 53 yards or 58 yards in the game, or 53 yards. You're right. That's not good. That's not good balance. That's 6-1.
Well, Carolina is got a pretty good run defense with Kuechly in there, and that's the strength of their defense. So you got to come out on first down and attack that defense, which they didn't do.
Well, does it all go back to Shanahan leaving and losing your offensive coordinator, who was doing a fantastic job? Because of course it's not working very well this year.
That's part of it. But what's the head coach doing? He stands there on the sideline like he's, like a mummy. He's not into it. And that I blame the head coach. You know what? The buck stops with the head coach, and he's not getting it done.
Well, that is for certain. Anything else in the NFL that sticks out to you? The Washington-Seattle game was an amazing game to watch at the end. The way that Russell Wilson brought that team back and took the lead, and I thought it was over, and everybody did. And Washington comes back with those amazing plays at the end to take it and win that game. It's hard to win in Seattle, and they pulled it off.
Seattle lost that game in the first half when they were held to 2 points. And Washington's defense isn't great, and for them to only score 2 points in the first half, and of course they had one touchdown called back after they had a blocked punt, and the officials reversed the decision that cost them. But still, Washington with 4 starters out in their offensive line goes into Seattle and wins. That to me was a shocking development. And Seattle has got, they won 4 straight games. You thought they were ready to roll and take over that division, and it just isn't happening for Seattle anymore, for whatever reason.
Well, I think they have the lowest paid offensive line in football. That might be one of the reasons. Even though...
Well, they went out and got a Brown, which was supposed to make a difference, the left tackle. It didn't make any difference.
Yeah, Houston got rid of him because he was complaining about the Houston owner, making the comments he did about the inmates running the prison. And he was the biggest and most vocal opponent to that. And they got rid of him for that reason. Now, I'm sure he'll show benefit to the Seattle Seahawks as time goes on, but maybe he had too short a week. But Russell, I'm talking a little bit about the loser here, but Russell Wilson does more for that team than any other quarterback could, because he has absolutely no time. The offensive line, it just breaks down so quickly. It's unbelievable. So that's what happens when you pay your quarterbacks all the money and you underpay your offensive line. You end up with that. The other side,
This is a Washington team that was giving up 30-something points a game its last 3 games. And for Seattle to lay an egg against that team, to me, at home, on its home field, to me, it was inexcusable.
Well, what about the field goal kicker? They missed 3 field goals. It should have been 11-0 at the half. Walsh missed 3 kicks.
Yeah.
All makeable kicks.
Yeah.
That's
He came out with a W.
Yeah. Well, it was a good week for the pocketbook, and thank you for the winners in the Breeders' Cup. And what do you got going on this week? Anything special?
Not really. Well, I think this town's excited about the Miami Notre Dame game. If Miami wins that game, there's a good chance they're going to make the Final Four.
Darn right.
That would be huge. But I don't know if they can beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame's awfully good. I had dinner with Chris Collinsworth Friday night, and Chris's son is playing he's on the Notre Dame team, and he's pretty excited about that. So we'll see what happens.
It's going to be great. I mean, there's the Big Ten put themselves in big trouble the way they. Boy, I tell you, Ohio State really laid an egg.
Yep.
That's
that was a shocker.
It was a shocker and embarrassing for Urban Meyer, I'm sure.
Yep, and the Pac-10, the Pac-12 really doesn't have anything going for it. I'll tell you that was a great game between Arizona and Southern Cal, and Southern Cal is playing extremely well. That quarterback is terrific, and it looked like Arizona was gonna stay within the points in that game, and then they turned it over late in the game, and Southern Cal wound up with 2 scores in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's pretty. It can flip a switch on you real fast. Well, Hank, thank you very much, and we'll do this again on Wednesday. You have a great day, and everybody, you want Hank's picks. I mean, he's doing extremely well in pro football, and you want his picks this week and his horses as well. Just go to JimFeist.com, and my picks
I like
are there.
the card this week.
Oh yeah, it looks really good. It really does.
Yep. Yeah.
Have a good one, Hank.
You too.
Bye-bye.